Hello, everybody. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood and another wonderful day across the country. Um, I was requested to do this video by one of you, the viewers. So here we go. We are covering Biden's speech and the Republican rebuttal. I do have notes, like the pages stuck there. I have like pages worth of notes on each. Okay, and this is only going to be a brief overview of most of it, but we'll tank some buzzword culture words just to appease some of you and all that. Now, Biden's speech was listed covering what he had accomplished in his first 100 days and what projects are on the horizon. Now, I wasn't particularly impressed with, just as an overview, I wasn't impressed with his speech. There were two good parts, and I'm having trouble remembering the other one. I do remember what one was because I actually ended up writing it down in these notes. But yeah, let's dive right into Biden's speech. First, he came in and everybody was applauding. Even the Republicans stood up and clapped, which I thought was rather iconoclastic. And yeah, it's like they're standing up for the office, but not the man himself who holds the office. It's politicking at its worst. Now, according to him, they had a partisan stimulus package, which he was claiming that Biden was claiming that it was bipartisan, and I don't believe it was. Unless I'm mistaken, it having one or two senators who are Republican agree to it isn't it exactly being bipartisan. That's a weak ass wishbone collar kind of piecemealing of just garbled crap. But he got it passed. We got checks. That was the main point. He reiterated the COVID-19 vaccine is available. He kept on pressing the vaccine agenda, which I don't believe is. I'm not going to say COVID isn't real because I know it's real. The bitch of it is it's not as deadly as has been purported. In a country where we have plenty of vaccinations to begin with, and now like in India where it's fucking ravaging them, they have almost no vaccinations over there. So of course it's ripping through generations. It's ripping through entire countries. I mean, in India right now, I heard on the news yesterday, they're literally, if somebody's too far gone, fuck it, put them in the hallway, put them out in the street if you have to. Get people in here who so we can assess them, and then we can move the fuck on. And thousands of people a day are dying. And this is a place where vaccinations are not a regular thing. Here in the U.S., where we have regular vaccinations and actual fucking science, if we use it, our death toll is going down because some of us are starting to use science. I've been using science all along, and I have not suffered from anything even coming close to COVID. I think the closest I've had is a cold and some sinusitis. Now, he also talked about food lines, which he never thought he'd see in this country. Well, we haven't seen that since World War II with the Great Depression. Him saying, "Oh, even people in nice cars are okay." Yeah, the fact that we got ravaged by this, and then right as we started to open things up, next thing you know, we get hit with a winter blast in February, the likes of fucking Moses would have been impressed with. We had a cold blast come through here, and on our windows, we have windows that were built in 1950s. These are metal frame windows that go into wood. And this shit was done, 70 years ago. Now here's the thing. We actually checked our windows because we had them insulated. We put plastic in there so it would create a thermal barrier and blankets on top of that. It helped creates a thermal barrier so you don't get cold. And our heating bill reflected that because our heating bill is way lower than what it should be. But when that fucking cold front, when that ungodly cold front hit us, that Arctic blast, whatever you want to call it, polar vortex, at the height of it, we checked underneath the plastic in our windows, and we had a solid inch of ice on the windows. That's how damn cold it was. And we made it to the point where the high for one of our lowest highs for the day, the high for the day was 17 below zero. That was the high, not the low. The high. That was as warm as it got. It dipped lower than that, but that was the high for one of those days. And yeah, of course, when everything's broken, you can't fix anything because your electricity and your gas is off. You go to a food line. Okay, enough of that. He talked about rental assistance. Yeah, there are places all over offering rental assistance right now if you happen to be a rentor. Then he said he made 1,300,000 jobs in the first 100 days, which apparently was more jobs than has ever been created. That's the most jobs created in the first 100 days of any president in history, going back to the Great Depression, World War II, and FDR. Why every fucking president wants to use FDR as the gold standard is beyond me. That was a once in a generational thing, and that generation is long since gone and dead. Now, here's the part that I find that's amazing is the adults from that era made such an impression, and now every president for the past 20, 30 years has always invoked FDR. Every fucking president for the past 30 years has invoked a similarity to something in the FDR presidency. And most of them are wrong for trying to pass that off. Now, when he says he got 1.3 million jobs in 100 days, okay, I'll take a bite of the oatmeal. I'm not buying the whole bowl. I'm just taking a bite and seeing how it tastes. And I haven't checked up on it because, yeah, the statistics that would be out for that aren't going to be released until the quarterly end, which I believe is next month or some crap like that. It hasn't been released. The full statistics for the first 100 days of the Biden presidency haven't begun to come out yet. Because it works on every 3 months. And he's counting from a certain particular point. And that won't always be the case. But anyway, I haven't checked on those yet. I will if there's enough interest in it. Then it talks about we are competing with China and Japan, Russia. I don't see us as competing. I see us as being competitive, not the same thing. To be competitive, you have to compete, but we're also dealing with quite a few other things. So, now, the jobs plan is pretty much FDR's plan. Setting up infrastructure jobs, working on clean energy. As he said in his speech, why do we have to have a fin for a wind turbine made in Malaysia or Japan or China instead of having it made in Pittsburgh? Well, I can tell you why it's being made in Asia as compared to the United States. Because it's fucking cheaper having them made there. They can get people who are not so well paid, but highly sought after, to design this crap for them and pump it out. And even if the blade only lasts 2 years, well, it lasted 2 years. That's the problem. It broke. Me, I'm all for buying American. Some of the antique stuff I get to mess around with or play with or look at or whatever. Most of that stuff was made here in the US back when we actually made things to last. I'm not saying we just make things to break, but everybody is after that golden fucking nugget of being a billionaire or being the next rich guy who's on the cover of a magazine. And it's disappointing because everybody, all these people, like all the companies that are focused on turning a profit, their whole thing is turning a profit. And I get that. I use my business side of my brain, and some things are worth it, some things ain't. But let's look at it in the context of as a country person, as a United States citizen. If you want somebody to build something for you, you need to pay them a good wage. Then you need to be buying good quality parts, not just some dirt cheap shit you dug up in a field in Asia and then smelt it and form it and all this other crap somewhere else, and then just send it somewhere else to get assembled. Build the whole damn thing here. Ship, if you have to ship the raw ingredients, we can smelt it. That'll pay for all this crap. Will pay for itself. And Americans don't want to be paid below minimum wage, which I don't blame Americans for. Now, we are competing. The job plan is pretty much like FDR's. Now there's the lead pipes issue. There are lead pipes all over the country still being used due to nobody fucking checking on them in 50 goddamn years. Nobody's checked on most of this crap in 50 to 70 years. So yeah, nobody wants their property devalued by a fucking new sewage line being put in. Everybody wants top fucking dollar right there. If it injures their ability to make the highest net profit from their home, doesn't matter if it's meant to improve the infrastructure, they don't care. Much like when people replace their pipes out in Plainview, Oaklawn, any suburb of Detroit that hasn't been worked on in a good 50 years. The infrastructure is built on less than quality parts by today's standards. They're also older than most of the. They're also some of those parts are older than most of the residents living there, provided they're not in advanced old age, which is 70 and above. And with materials that have deteriorated over 7 decades or so, therein lies a problem of infrastructure. The infrastructure needs to be updated about every 40 years or so. Most of our infrastructure right now was going bad 30 years ago. The newer parts of it, which we then started testing to see why they were good, why they lasted so long without cracking. We started drilling, sampling, taking flakes. You do enough of that crap, and you're going to end up diminishing the structural integrity of what you're trying to preserve. So instead of looking at how it managed to survive, how about you just work on getting the money up to redo the entire damn thing? Because they don't want to spend the money. Infrastructure needs to be redone. It's long overdue. It should have been started 30 years ago. That way we wouldn't be spending it now. Because, if I go to, they've just redid, the Lincoln Street Bridge, which, if you don't know, that's the one that leads to the high school I went to. They got done redoing that bridge not that long ago, and they've also done Harry Street Bridge, and they redid Pawnee Street Bridge, kinda. They did more like a redo on it. They did it, I think, a little too quickly. It took them 6 months to redo the bridge. And originally, the bridge at Pawnee and McLean, as far as I remember my dad saying, that bridge took about 2 years to build. That's why it lasted as long as it did, because they took their time and allowed everything to cure and dry. But yes, our infrastructure is crumbling. We do need to just get off our asses and replace it. Stop bitching about how much it costs. If you want good quality work done by quality workers, you need to pay for both those things. Period. The end. Yeah. Yank it, pull out the cane pole, and yank the dude off stage. You need to just pay for the shit. If Congress is going to pay for it, don't go for the lowest goddamn bid by a bunch of fucking people who shouldn't be doing it. Like when I go by roadwork areas, you've got like one white guy watching 11 Mexican workers hop around like they're doing something, and most of the time, I can sit there. I've sat at construction sites and watched 11 people run around acting like they're doing something. They're doing jack shit. They're literally milking a clock they shouldn't. I'm marking these points off as I'm going along now. Figured it's about time I made it through 3/4 of a page. But I've gone through so many construction sites where you have one white guy or two white guys sitting there watching. They're holding shovels or just standing there doing this whole bit. And you've got 11 people running around acting like they're doing something. And then you stop and watch to see what they're doing. You've got 3 people making sure the one new guy is actually doing so. You've got 11 fucking supervisors for 2 damn people working. Stop paying the people to sit there and stare. Make them do the job or fire them. That's the way it worked when I was. That's the way it worked when I was coming up in construction. If you sit there looking at everybody, you're going to get fired. It's not, well, I'm watching him to make sure. No, get in there in the trench and do it. If he fucks up, you help him. And then show him on the job right there on the spot. That's how I got brought up in the construction industry. Now, there's a push for man-made American products. For business economics, this is an issue because if you are a very wealthy person and you don't want to pay that much for building a product, you go overseas and have it made. That's why a lot of companies left during Obama's administration, because he was going to start taxing them. Bye! Overseas, we'll make the shit for almost nothing, make billions off of it, and fuck you, America. And then when they make the money, they come over here and invest in other things that'll make them buku loads of money for next to nothing. They might have to put in an initial investment of, say, $1 billion or $12 billion. But when you're already a multi-billionaire, when you own $20 billion, you could put $1 billion into a company, doesn't even put a dent in your checkbook. But I think getting American products is it entails a lot more because you have to pay more for that. And you're not going to find something that was made in America that's well built and will last you forever for fucking $5. This watch wasn't made here. I can almost guarantee you it says it was made in another country. I'm checking to see where this watch was made, if it has it on there. Yeah, Japanese, probably built in Japan or some crap, but this is an extremely well taken care of watch. I clean it quite often. But most products that you're going to buy, you go to the Dollar General or Family Dollar or some cheap-ass place, and you get a little toy. Like, let's say a Hot Wheels or some crap. They're generic versions of Hot Wheels, and yes, you could buy them cheap and they will last a while if you take really good care of them. But generally, within a year, they're dead and smashed and no good. Whereas if it's made from quality materials by qualified Americans who know how to build that crap, you're going to be able to run that bitch over with an actual car, and it will not hurt that car that much. That little toy car all that much. Yeah, I know from experience that it'll work like that. I've actually done it. I found a Hot Wheels that was made in America, a die-cast. Ran it over with a Yugo, and a Yugo doesn't weigh that much, but it didn't do anything to the little toy car. I think we sold that little tiny car for like $1,500, but it costs you more money because you spend money on quality workers and quality products. Then there was a gender pay gap that's incoming. It's supposed to shrink the gender pay gap, which, well, I'm still grasping with this idea because you've got everybody saying that there's this pay gap for men and women. Okay, well, if I get a male and female employee, pay them the exact same, make them work the exact same hours, and I've actually been asking people about this, you'll find they both make the exact same. They'll take the exact same amount of money. Now, you give them a wife or a husband and 2 kids, okay, and they claim those on their taxes, and they will. As far as I'm aware, there's literally not much of a gap. There's like $50 gap there. But if you just have a single man and a single woman, have them work the exact same hours, and all of a sudden they start complaining, the woman starts complaining that she's not making as much, and you show her that she's making the exact same amount, you're getting the exact same hours as a guy, all of a sudden, well, I can't afford to do this and this and this. Well, your problem isn't the fact that you're making less, your consumerism rate is higher. See, you're wanting to look nice, dress nice, drive nice, have your morning latte from Starbucks, which you waited in a long line for overpriced coffee to begin with. And that's where the trouble starts. You're wanting to drive a brand new car, for some ladies, designer shoes, nice clothes, blah, blah, blah. You go, and a guy will go with nice shoes, a decent car. Doesn't have to be brand new, not all the time. And no, I'm not saying a lot of women are vain, but women who complain about a gender pay gap, usually are the ones spending a lot more in shit they don't actually need, it's just shit they want. And yes, there are guys who go through that money too. And then on top of that, you get a guy who's single paying child support. Well, wear a condom. You want to keep all that money. Well, wear a condom. But women claim especially a lot of feminist women, claim that they're not getting paid. When I worked at the Home Depot or Walmart, I made the same as some of the other people and found out I actually made somehow, because I was claiming my wife and they merely had boyfriends, they were getting more money than I was. But work harder and work smarter, not harder, and keep your nose at the grindstone and outdo them, outsmart everybody. Okay. So apparently someone's coming for the gender pay gap or some crap. Then you've got DARPA advancement, which I honestly haven't focused on DARPA in 15, 20 years. So honestly, I don't have an opinion about DARPA being just an advancement program. And then he did something which I think was a thorough dick punch to both the Reagan and Trump administrations. Biden actually denounced trickle-down economic theory. He said it was nonsense. It doesn't work. It never has worked. He is not lying. This bullshit theory that seems to be the afterglow of a fucking rebuffed Reagan-era administration dreamboat is designed to say if we give tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy, then it will trickle down to the employees. Historically, it has never worked because you give tax breaks to the incredibly wealthy, they keep the fucking money. How do you think Steve Bezos has managed to get so rich? Or the Gateses, or the Walton family? They're not paying fuckloads in taxes. No, they're not. Hell, when I heard about this tax break, when I heard about trickle down economic theory from the Trump administration, I'm thinking, okay, and I was working at Home Depot at the time, and I only got 130 some odd dollars extra on my account in my bank, and turned to find out there were people who had been working there for 3 months who got like $10. And meanwhile, there's people who'd been working there for like 20 years who made like $6,000 off of this. So for me, I have already said trickle down economic theory is bullshit. Biden actually said it. He cemented that in place for us as if we had doubts. Anybody who's actually looked this up knows that trickle down economic theory does not work. Hasn't ever. Even the guy who invented it said it wouldn't work. It was a failed thought process. Now, to the rebuttal. Because, yeah, I wasn't all that impressed with Biden's speech. If you couldn't tell, I wasn't all that impressed. And then the Republican response, if you want to call this a response, this is so Al Sharpton, it's not even fucking funny, but it's hilarious at the same time. South Carolina Senator Republican Tim Scott. He's a singular black senator in the Senate, duh. He's from South Carolina, so he's a southern black guy in the Senate. Oh, he said some doozies here. Okay. He started off by calling by blasting the administration, which, okay, whatever. But he also tried to appeal to single black mothers. And single mothers say, well, I was raised by a single mother. What happened to your dad? I'm surprised you didn't go on about that one. Now, he suggested that schools should stay open, which they should have. This whole bullshit of, well, coronavirus is going to kill us all. No, it's not. In fact, all the people are like, well, it's going to kill all of us. It'll kill anybody in it. No, it won't. 90% of all COVID cases are over the age of fucking 60. And the ones that are over 50 typically are fucking massively out of shape, diabetic, and probably are starting to develop CAPD or COPD. Not CAPD. It's a completely different thing. But yeah. A lot of high-risk patients with diabetes ended up passing away or having massive issues. A lot of people who weren't asthmatic but were severely overweight, they weighed like 300 and 400 pounds. Now they have long hauler health issues because they went ahead and they didn't decide to lose weight and they're wanting to enjoy their golden years. But yeah. He suggested that the science being used for keeping schools closed is bad. I don't disagree with him. He claimed a lot of pride in Project Warp Speed, ergo in enticing the Trump administration. And for anybody who applauded Project Warp Speed with the DES and with all with everything that's been going on with the vaccines, good luck with your life. I wasn't a fan of Project Warp Speed. There are people on the internet who've been saying, well, they were already developing a vaccine. This just made it turn in another direction. No, they didn't have a vaccine. They weren't working on one until it'd been in the country like a month or two. So when it started ravaging everybody, all the old people, that's when we started developing one. Anybody who says anything different is full of shit. Seriously, you're literally full of shit. He then slams Democrats for being partisan on the efforts for the last stimulus bill. Well, I did some addition. I don't know where all the money went to, but more than half of the money that was used to get the stimulus bill passed went to the American people. Literally, it went to the American. Over half of all that money went to the American people. Let alone services and shit for the economy, for the market that the COVID-19 thing hit with. I mean, with restaurants shutting down, people had to pay their rent. Here's what I don't get: everything's forced to shut down. Every fucking thing except essential businesses, which means if you sold food, you were an essential business. So all these businesses are forced to shut down. Why do they need to still pay rent then? If they're forced to shut down through no fault of their own, they are forced to shut down. Why do they have to pay rent? They're not making money. Why the fuck are they paying rent? Why the fuck are the landlords coming after them? See, that's what's ironic about it is the year-long shutdown for a 2-week experiment didn't stop creditors from coming after you. They did no such fucking thing. The creditors still were calling. Why? Because the landlord wants their rent. If my business isn't open because the city shut everything down, fuck you and your rent. The city said, everybody said we had to shut down. They shut us down forcefully and then did whatever the fuck they wanted to in the meantime. I'm sorry, no. So all the stimulus money that all these that went federal and never got dished out. Now certain places like here in Wichita, there's a few businesses who are actually forcing litigious action and getting the city to pay for them shutting down because they didn't want to shut down. It was the city that forced them to close down. You have to shut down. Period. The end. Close your doors, lock them up. For no fucking reason. Other than the city wanted them to do so. So why shouldn't the city pay them for an emergency shutdown? For the time they had to shut down to, well, now you can open. Okay, thank you. Give me the money that I lost out on for rent. That's how they're doing that. Next claims that President Biden is fracturing Congress instead of bringing Congress together. No, I see some very partisan, old school Republican going on that is fractious. Literally. I see Republicans be like, well, we need to be informed of everything. This is, you're politicking your entire party. If you vote for this, you're evil. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying that the Democrats are free of that. No. When you pass bill after bill after bill after bill after bill, bypassing Republicans almost entirely, I could see the error in that. I mean, there are plenty of times where the Senate has sat on their hands on a bill that could actually do some good. Well, we didn't have nothing to do with it, so we're not approving it. When is Congress going to get fucking past the point where they're playing politics like that and do something for the fucking country? It's not about how much the NRA paid you to fucking vote down a gun bill that actually fucking makes sense. It's, okay, if you're not taking this kind of gun off the market that all of them use, then obviously there's an issue with you being a bought and paid for politician. I personally think politicians should be held accountable. All of them. Anyway, I don't think that this fracturing Congress nonsense is actually as true as Republicans have you believe. Defames Democrats for passing overvalued spending programs. well, this bill and this bill are completely wasteful and it doesn't help us do anything, blah, 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 endless conversation. Well, here's an idea. Stop battling over your ideals and start voting based on what the American people need, not what corporations are paying you for. And every politician's like, well, I'm not sponsored by any corporation. Bullshit. You're running for office. I have no doubt Biden had somebody lining his pockets. I have no doubt. And we all know that both sides have well-oiled pockets on some of these people, and I totally don't believe in that. You came there to represent the people, not to represent a special interest. If not a lot of people know who you are, well, guess what? Without a lot of money, nobody would know who anybody is because there wouldn't be ads for it. But the spending programs, honestly, are a source of contention on both sides because Republicans are, well, we need to pass this. We're not going to pass that because they thought of it. And literally, I have seen this so many fucking times in my lifetime. Democrats come up with a bill. Republicans reject it because they don't like it. They come back with a slightly amended bill and try to and they're like, well, you need to pass this. This is a better bill. And somebody on the Democrats' side pointed out, you made 2 fucking tweaks to the whole thing and now it's your idea? We're trying to save them. No. How about you just originally pass the fucking bill because it meets what the American people want? And it goes the same way. Republicans will come up with a bill that Democrats don't like. Democrats will make 1 or 2 tweaks to it. And they're like, here's our bill. It's totally original now. And the Republicans are like, well, no, it ain't. Yeah, I'm doing a Mitch McConnell impression. I'm sorry. But, it's kind of like the voice of the Republican Party right now. Certainly not the power of it, but, the voice of it. Both sides want to be the originators of any thing that saves and helps Americans all over the country. They want to be personally responsible or politically take responsibility for an entire thing. They don't want to, well, this is a partisan. If they get one person, they're like, well, this was partisan. Getting one fucking person on board just so you can claim bipartisanship is like the entire party telling the kid who gets bullied constantly, well, if you vote for us, we'll stop them from bullying you. We really need your help. No, they're going to wait till the spotlight goes off, then beat the crap out of you again. That's how that works. And according to what I understand, this Tim Scott is still pushing for trickle-down economic theory, which, as we already discussed, was bad. Okay, then he claims that Biden is trying to fund abortion and pack the Supreme Court. I've not heard any evidence. I've not heard or seen any actual fucking evidence for packing the Supreme Court. I've been paying attention to it, and there have been a couple of news stories by a couple of left and right-wing articlists, but nothing substantial. And I don't know what this thing is about trying to fund trying to federally fund abortion. But here, the last time they brought this huge fucking issue up, everybody got all pissy and moany because, well, the government is not supposed to be funding abortion, and abortion is against our conservative beliefs. Okay, well, because you're claiming that Planned Parenthood is, getting rid of, using tax money to sell fetuses on the black market, blah, 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 blah. Turns out that was all bullshit. They're not selling fucking baby corpses and shit. Now, it depends on where you get your news from as to how dumb you are. And me, I go looking for news in all kinds of places. I spend a lot less time doing it now than I did a few months ago because of the political furor that is flying around now. Everybody's got to be uber partyistic. Everybody's got to be uber partisan. I'm not partisan. I don't care. I'm asked to look into something. I look at it from a central point of view. I'm not left, I'm not right. I have some conservative views, I have some leftist views, or liberal views, if you will. I have some conservative stuff, I have some liberal stuff, left and right, respectively. So I'm looking for the best solution, and I go look when I go digging into something. I go into multiple articles, and I can tell usually pretty quickly if it's a one-sided article. I stay away from quoting the one else. I stay away from quoting the one-sided articles because of my almost nonpartisanship. But this bullshit about Planned Parenthood, well, you got to remember Planned Parenthood pays for pap smears, all kinds of care for planning out a child or keeping you from having a child. Now, I know the greatest thing you can do to not have a kid is not have sex. But let's face the world we're living in where people are going to have sex. They're not, and most of them aren't going to get married before they have sex. Most of them are going to have had myriads of sex before they're married. So this crap of, well, being married and then having children will help your economic growth and help promote a more stable economy. Bullshit. That's a whole nother line of thinking that is, everybody who says that there's studies that have proven that it works are lying. They're stating a cherry picking stats from an article from a study that had nothing to do with that. And if the study did specifically have to do with that, the results were slanted to represent that view. Ben and Teller already proved that. So yeah, as far as this funding abortion and packing SCOTUS, I have not heard anything about them. I've been trying to look that stuff up and nothing. Bupkis. So I'm not going to buy that. Then this Tim Scott uses the race card. He was called the N-word not that long ago. You live in the South, dumbass. I mean, I can't count how many people I've seen that are from the South who liberally use the N-word because that's what you call black people. That's just what you call them. You call them the N-word, you ain't saying nothing harmful. Okay, all you fuckers go into Compton and say that shit. I guarantee you probably walk out with a broke jaw and your body in a body bag. But him using the race card, well, I've been called this, and I do not believe we're a racist country. Well, I'm not saying our country is racist. I'm not saying our country is racist. I'm not saying it's not racist. As long as you have, say, the Black Panthers and the KKK, and you have to, especially for the KKK in the South needs to realize something. When those people are like, well, this is hate, and this is heritage, not hate. Okay, so you want to use a battle flag that was used to keep slavery in the mainstay. There's a meaning behind the flag more than just it being Southern pride. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to tell you, the Southern flag, the Union Jack flag, whatever you want to call it, is a very catchy design. Artistically, I'm drawn to it. I know why I'm attracted to it. It was explained to me back in middle school or high school why it was the way it was. But trying to use a race card, well, I've been called the N-word. Okay, you're a really, really dark black guy from South Carolina. And I don't know if he talks to his fellow black people like that. You know, talks all clear and everything like that. I doubt he does. But I don't appreciate black people when they use the race card. Because, America's racist. No, we're not. We may have a bias, but we're not racist. I don't believe the whole country's racist. I don't think from the South, there's an undercurrent of racism. That one I will tell you. But that's a Southern thing. Most of them are just so hell-bent on, well, we like things the way they are. Catch up with the rest of the world. Stop living in the stop trying to live in the 1930s. Okay, and then he backtracks his own statements on racism and families later on in the comment. Later on in this speech. It's fantastical how dumb both speeches were. I really hated the Republican response. It could have been done so much better. The Republicans, as far as I'm concerned, railroaded this dude, Tim Scott, into looking probably like the dumbest motherfucker in Congress. I mean, the only black senator from the South. And his claims are not credible. And remember, I'm judging this from a completely sterile area where I'm putting down both speeches. Joe Biden's speech was maybe a C. We'll call it C minus, okay? Solid C minus. See, I'll even put that up in big old letters here. See, it's a C minus. And this one, this speech by Tim Scott, if you couldn't hear the pen already, you should already know, it's a big fat F. I didn't like either one of these speeches especially, but I'm also glad they didn't make overly grandiose claims. And by overly grandiose, they're not trying to directly say, well, I'm the next FDR, because that would just be phallic and stupid. But I do think that the Republican rebuttal was very shittily done. It was using a bunch of element buzzwords and things we could have lived without. He's talking about how he's a Southern boy, and then saying he got called the N-word and gets pulled over for no reason. All I can tell you is that I don't believe everything that Joe Biden said. I sure as hell didn't believe anything Tim Scott said. The only thing that came close in my book to being close to a true statement was suggesting that schools stay open and that the science used to close them down was bad. That I fully get behind because, well, science doesn't really lie. It's the scientists who push their theories that are lying. But I'm going to get off here because it's like 47 minutes long now. I'm sure I'll get a couple of hates. Don't care. If I get a few likes, awesome. Get a couple of subscribes, I'm good with it. But one of the things that's funny is I just want to cover this real quickly. In Biden's family's plans, he starts taxing the wealthiest people in the country. And the only reason I point this out is because I just watched a buttload of videos from both sides and centrists on who this affects and blah, 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 blah. And then I heard the dumbest thing ever. I saw this Roundtree conversation about Biden's tax thing. And of all people, Ben Shapiro points out that, well, corporations pay higher amounts than the poor people. Poor people don't pay nearly enough in taxes. If you look at the nationwide average, poor people pay more taxes than corporations do. Corporations pay historically lower taxes than the poor. The poor get taxed literally at a higher rate than almost anybody else, including the middle class. And I don't get why a guy who's rich and having no matter what you think, I mean, Ben Shapiro even said this himself, is he moved because he was paying taxes, but his taxes weren't being used effectively for him. He wanted his taxes to be used to get all the homeless the fuck away from his house. And I would assume as rich as he is, he would live in a gated community, but I don't know. but get the fucking homeless people away from his house because he pays his taxes. So his taxes weren't being used appropriately. And I can't say that I blame him altogether, but when you're claiming that poor people don't pay enough taxes, poor people are normally taxed double what corporations are. And if you own a very successful corporation that makes billions and you're being required to pay, a couple $1,000,000, $20 million, drop in a bucket. And that's where I have the problem with Shapiro's punditry skills on that, is because he might be one of your echo chamber people. He might be somebody who espouses things you believe in. And I listen to him on occasion. I agree with some of the things he said, but a whole lot of it I don't. But hearing him talk in a round table, all these rich guys that are working for the Daily Wire, they're all rich. They all create their own content, I guess. And they all have this Republican right-wing thing going on. Conservatism, I guess you'd call it. And they're all, yeah, we should tax the poor people more. How about you pay your end of taxes? Like, most wealthy people will tell you they don't pay enough in taxes, but they enjoy not paying enough in taxes because they stay wealthy that way. So, in my view, Ben Shapiro, purely because he didn't want to pay more in taxes, I get why he didn't want to pay more in taxes, because he didn't feel they were being used appropriately. Well, you're not the lawmaker. You could contact whoever the fuck's in charge of where you used to live out in LA, in California, and get them to take care of the situation of all these homeless drug addicts and whatnot. And then you will have done your job. You will have wanted to affect change. You will have then affected change and done all that. Now, my rant about Ben Shapiro's erroneous thinking is over. I have an interview to watch with Candace Owens. Apparently, I've got to watch her interview 45, Trump. I'm going to listen to it to see if it's all a bunch of ass-kissing, apple-polishing, reach around and give me a hand job style politically, or whatnot. I will watch it and find out what I think about it. I'm trying to divest all this. I'm trying to digest and divest all of this. And if it gets brought up, I can bring it up in a podcast and make a podcast out of that. But I'm honestly toning down the political crap because, honestly, people who are like, I'm seeing way too much hyperpartisanship. And quite frankly, it's enough to make you not want to vote. I mean, I'm not saying that you're evil if you voted for Trump or Biden. I didn't vote for either one of them. I did vote. And I complimented people who voted for Trump because, hey, you voted. I may not have liked who you voted for, but you voted. That's the important part. Kudos, fist bump, hand slap, whatever you go for. But anyway, I'm not sure what the next podcast is going to be about. You'll find out just like I will when it happens. Hell, maybe later today, maybe in 10 minutes from now, I don't know. But I'm going to get off here because I got other messages to check. I've been on here way too damn long for one podcast. And hopefully we'll find out and see how things go. All right, peace out. And, use your brains, people. Bye.